What's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's going on, man? Another show.
Oh
What up?
yeah,
What up?
another
What up? What up? What up?
Hey, what's going on? What's happening, man?
yeah. I think one thing we ain't bring up, but I think we're getting up to a year now, as far as number of episodes and live streams. So I think one of these days we have to do like some type of anniversary episode or something like that.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but welcome everyone to the Freedmen Collective.
Welcome.
Today we got we got another good show for you guys, jam packed. We want to talk about a slew of things. We're not going to stick to one topic, but we want to jump across a few things because what we've seen is things have been popping off lately across the U.S. Yeah. So I'm y'all. I'll be your host today, Ernest. You guys know where I'm from. I'm out here in Lansing, from Chicago. Looking forward to having a discussion. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hey, man, it's your homeboy Adolph J. Rocky, man, a.k.a. Gerard Ibn Lamont, your resident Detroit, political critic. You know what I mean? We doing a lot here. Hey, but before we get going, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. There's some good stuff, man. We want to get this out to as many people as possible.
Most definitely. So, for those folks who are already familiar with our show, this is a podcast where we specifically discuss things that are going on inside the lineage of freedmen. And by freedmen, we mean those who descend from those who were formerly enslaved. And so if you guys watch our show a lot, we talk about reparations, we talk about Black politics and Black history for the most part. So to start off today's show, I wanted to definitely go ahead and touch upon some things that was going on out in California as it pertains to reparations. For you guys who aren't aware, out in California, the Democratic governor, Gavin Newsom, in addition to his state reps out there, they pretty much passed legislation to develop a task force to study and propose reparations for African Americans. And when they say African Americans, they mean those who descend from slavery, but there's some nuance into, who's an African American and who's not. But out in California, I know we've talked about this in plenty of prior shows and things like that, that the task force is up and running and they're having these discussions on key issues like mass migration to California, reparations. What does reparations for Californians look like? There's a slew of things that this bill kind of addresses. I guess it does. The bill doesn't address, but the task force is having a slew of conversations that address the issues of California's racial history, as well as the specific history of those who endured slavery and ultimately became citizens of America. So what I'm trying to say, guys, is that the task force that was established out in California, they've been having recent conversations, and these recent conversations have revealed some interesting things. One thing that it has revealed is that we got a long way to go as far as determining who's specifically being targeted in the reparations claim for African Americans. Is it specifically those who suffered the harms of Jim Crow and slavery, or is it for all Black Americans across the U.S.? I think the task force has been showing us that it is, almost for all Black Americans, but the reality is that they are having a specific focus towards those who descend from slavery, which I think is important. I would like it to be, further delineated and specific towards a certain group. But right now, the conversations that are going on has it focused on those things. Some interesting things that I want to show you guys is the DOJ's involvement with the task force. As of the last few hearings, we basically got to see how the DOJ is interacting with the task force. What we learned, just from watching these hearings and from inside information is that the DOJ is pretty much playing heavy-handed with the task force by not admitting certain notes or certain information or requests up the chain of command and basically effectively hamstringing the task force, or pretty much, dominating what reparations will look like, or as far as how much power that task force has to determine what it looks like in California. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, guys, and just I want to show one like quick discussion to catch the audience up on some of the conversations that are being held as it relates to our history and slavery in the U.S. And then I'll play another clip that specifically shows you how California DOJ is kind of preventing the success of the task force and potentially stopping us from getting reparations in California. So let me share my screen.
You were sharing it before.
All right.
Oh, okay, you doing a video?
Yep.
Hey, I think we need to mute guys. So let's mute our mics.
Let me know if you can hear it real quick. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit low right now, but yeah. Yeah, it's really low, bro.
Still low?
Prior to 1808, that trade actually
You guys said it's still low?
Yeah, it's real low.
All right, hold on. I'm having some technical difficulties. Let me, you know what? Let me try to do that. How about now?
Nope. You might want to reshare it and just make sure you got the audio selected.
All right. Yeah, some screens that you look for. Yeah, I don't got that. Oh yeah, I see it. All right, sorry about that, guys. Let me go ahead and get it together now. All right. So in this clip right here, guys, I just wanted to go ahead and play just some conversations that are being held. Pretty much, the task force has a slew of resources available to it. One of those resources is that they're able to use the DOJ as well as a ton of experts to pretty much figure out what has happened and at least get an accurate picture from those who have the most information. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip.
what we would now call the domestic slave trade. That trade in human beings lasted. It really, many people date it from 1808, but it actually started in the 1740s, 1750s. We have evidence of people being traded before closing of the transatlantic slave trade, which in the United States was illegal to bring Africans to the United States after 1808. So the domestic slave trade, which was already in operation, meaning people were being traded on what became American soil prior to 1808, that trade actually sold 1 million souls that we know of. So it's almost 3 times the amount of people were sold during the domestic slave trade as those that came to the United States, or what became the United States from West Africa. So the magnitude of the domestic slave trade is often understudied and underutilized, and very, very few understand that there are 2 different trading systems. One was the trade from West Africa, and the other is the trade on American soil. And most enslaved people were traded approximately 4 to 5 times in their lifetime, which means they were traded, they had different owners, they had to go through a different experience. And they talked about the coffles where they were chained by their ankles or chained by their necks and traveled to the deep South or other parts of the South. They were sold, and we know that their values, we have evidence of their values. They were sold from anywhere from $50 to $800 during the 19th century, which in today's money was anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, depending on the time period. And I can provide detailed estimates on the table for you all on the estimates of these values. But I would say the price of an average or mid-sized vehicle is what the price of a human being was, one human being during slavery. Slavery was a $1 billion industry. They were sold as commodities to work on plantations, in households, and they were sold for the rest of their natural lives. We have documents that say that. We have valuations of their bodies in shillings, in U.S. dollars. We have estimates of what they were valued when they were first placed on ships, and we also have annual appraisal values of them throughout their lives. They experienced multiple sales, but not only that, they were also sold after they died. Their bodies, their cadavers were sold as part of an illegal underground market that operated very much like the domestic slave trade. It's called the domestic cadaver trade. And their cadavers were sold to medical schools for anatomical research and for dissection, for use.
And I'll pause it there, but just letting the audience get a gist of kind of what kind of discussions are being held. So right now, I would say the few past meetings that were held basically focused on the history of slavery, as well as certain aspects like Jim Crow, segregation, and right now I think these specific meetings were covering the Great Migration, but this doctor here has specific information on the slave trade and slavery in specific. I actually didn't know about that cadaver part. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was aware of it, but I didn't know it was like a wide set, market that I didn't know to the extent, and I would be interested to see what was the extent as far as the numbers or what have you. But yeah, I was aware that black bodies were used, previously in slavery and post slavery as a means of doing research in the medical field. But again, I didn't know if it was as how pervasive that was. Or
Yeah.
what have you. Was it in small numbers, big numbers? Was everyone getting sold? How often did that occur? But nonetheless, I mean, it happened.
Yeah. No, and then outside of that, I just had one other clip that I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys. And for this one, go ahead.
Before you do that, when we share, we need to mute our mics because the feedback from the audio that we're listening to
it's an echo.
It's an echo. So yeah,
gotcha.
So we need to mute our mics once you play the video, so it's not like you're not hearing the echo back.
Were y'all hearing the echo when I was playing it?
Yes, I did.
All right.
As far as surprise or whatever, I wasn't exactly aware that they were using black people for cadavers in medical school, but I'm not surprised because essentially they did that to us in life. When you look at the surgeries they performed on us, they've been talking a lot about gynecology lately, but I mean just surgery in general. They practiced that on slaves, all type of vile medical procedures and essentially what amounts to human experimentation was done on slaves. I mean, and so I'm not surprised. I've gotten to the point where I just assumed the worst possible thing that could have happened because every time you learn about something that has happened, it is usually worse than you can imagine. Like with the whole where they used to use black babies as alligator bait in Florida, or even like I know we have talked about this or something. I think we talked about this where they had it in Louisiana where they would put black women with black men in prison. If they got pregnant, the babies would be wards of the state, and then they would auction the kids off after a certain age and use that money to build schools. So it's just like there's nothing that they can. There's nothing I can hear that I'd be like, wow, I'm so shocked.
Real dark history. Yeah,
it's disgusting. But I mean, shit, we do that with animals. You know what I'm saying? You sell pigs and shit, and if you told us we was animals for 500, 300 years, why wouldn't you do everything we do to animals now? Why wouldn't you do to us? We actually was people, so you really had a 1-to-1 as far as experimentation and stuff. You had a 1-to-1 on figuring out whether it worked or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they use pigs now because anatomically they're they're supposed to be as close to a human as possible as far as the texture of the skin, as far as surgery and everything that goes. But why, like you said, Stedman, why waste a pig, that you can eat than just to use a freedman, you know what I mean, a Negro or what have you.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, this for us as freedmen, man, we all know that the underbelly of this country, and that's why many of us are detached from it, because of these atrocities that's been performed, over and over and over and over and over again. And I definitely can understand why people are detached from the process, why they feel like this country isn't theirs. But we're here to educate and say, hey, we did all that blood, sweat, equity. We deserve our recompense. It's not a freaking a handout, or it's not something that has to be something that is a fairy tale dream. Because I mean, think about it. We list all of these atrocities that our people went through, and during slavery, and I'm pretty for sure that was very crazy and impossible, the idea that slavery was going to end. Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
mean
that's always the lens that we come through as from this channel, is like, don't look at the impossible reparations and think, oh, that'll never happen. It's
right.
about your political will and causing it to happen. Because believe me, slavery was way much more of a profitable thing, and that's why our Civil War was fought, for its existence and
Right.
continuance. So that was
And
Yeah.
possible, probable. Reparations definitely is.
and I think that's what. Or
Okay.
I'll let you
Hold on,
finish.
Stan. Yeah, let me go ahead and jump into this clip real quick, and then we can just tackle the rest of that. All right, so in this clip, pretty much just wanted to highlight how the DOJ is interfering with the task force and potential reparations proposals. And so in this clip, you'll hear the chairman, Camila Moore, talk about, you know, the need for, potentially the task force to have a closed session and evaluate DOJ staff and make recommendations, I guess, to higher authorities to potentially get those folks, if there are obstacles, out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and play the clip.
Very much agree with them. I just want to make sure that we're being, not retracting what we've done in the past. That's all. It's my understanding is the chair and vice chair's primary role is to, authorize kind of what's on that agenda for a body like ours to be able to discuss. And so I just want to make sure that we are in order and that this is a supplement, and I'm in complete agreement with that.
Thank you. And to be quite clear and for transparency, right? Vice Chair Brown and myself, we were working on the agenda for September. The agenda, and in working on the agenda, we were looking through suggestions for the agenda from all task force members. 2 of those suggestions were from Lisa Holder, and that included a discussion on the task force subpoena power and on the other topic. We included those agenda items on the September hearing. They were taken out by DOJ staff. We would have had a discussion about the subpoena power during these 2 days. We would have had a discussion about the other topic related to eligibility and who's included, right, during these 2 days. Because as vice chair and as chair, we were doing our duties for over a month to make sure that all task force suggestions were included, but they were taken out by the DOJ, and now we are here, right? That is an issue for me. I'm being very clear and transparent about that. Vice Chair Brown and myself, we were elected to collaborate with the DOJ to do this work. We haven't been wholly respected by the DOJ with our duties, and now we're here. So to be quite honest, I'm even asking if we could even have a closed session between now and the notice period for the next October hearing, so that as a task force, we can talk candidly about how do we all get on the same page to make sure that this task force runs in the way that it should. So that's something that I'm also putting on the table. In light of the many public comments that we've received between these past 2 days, there has to be some type of conversation about how do we all get on board with each other.
And I'll leave it there. But as you guys heard in just that small clip, she pretty much stated that the DOJ is interfering in the task force by one, not including proposals that were specific to the power of the subpoena, as well as who's eligible for reparations. So, that's a direct derailment in any efforts to pretty much propose proper reparations for African Americans. I mean, it's classic white agencies of the U.S. interfering in progress. And,
but be clear, this is
go ahead.
California Department of Justice,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, California Department of Justice. Yep, this is specific to the state of California.
So this is what we get. Anytime we try to move the needle forward, they got some institution that's ready to step forward and take the bullets to try and stop us.
Yeah, I think it was a good wake-up call, too, because she was stating how despite all of the public comments that they received, so there's like hundreds of, not even hundreds, but just let's say there's up to 100 reparationists who's on this, like, on top of these hearings, and they always call in, give their opinion, and definitely represent the lineage well. The comments that they've been leaving have not been recorded by the DOJ, and so that's been raising some concerns. I think where we're at today is just careful that we watch how California plays out, because this could roll itself out across the nation in various ways, and if it's not done right in California, then it's we pretty much it's definitely not going to work out as well in other states. So I mean, that's something we got to keep in mind.
Yeah, it'll be setting precedent,
Yep.
and showing the way how to obscure and fight. I mean, but we know this type of things are going to come, man. This wasn't going to be a non-uphill fight. This is very well uphill battle, and we know that all of the tricks of the trades will be pulled out, to thwart any, our justice claim.
Yep. So I did just have one request to our viewers. If you are viewing the show today, I just wanted to say, in upcoming, I think in October, there's going to be 2 additional hearings. If you guys would like to let your voices be heard, I'll definitely be sharing some information on the show as we get closer to that time. And I definitely would encourage those out there, if you are in support of the Black lineage, specifically those of us who descend from slavery, I would encourage you to call in, let your thoughts be heard, and support reparations for the U.S. freedmen. So I'll leave it there. You guys had anything you want to weigh in on?
No, I guess the big thing that I would say is that, we're really proud and happy to see that the team out in California has made this progress. They went from nothing to a bill that was signed and passed to an actual task force that's now in force and doing work. And that's a great accomplishment. And now we're seeing, when you do real work, the type of slick and backhanded maneuvers other departments are going to come out of the woodwork to pull on us to try to slow progress or hinder acquisition of information that will further uncover the atrocities and the depth and the breadth of what's been done to us. And I think it's important that our community, whether they be Black native or they be Black descendants of those from abroad, of the diaspora, understand that this complex in this country that has waged this war on us is more woven into fabrics of society to the degree than you would ever imagine. And so the fight that we are waging is very specific. It has a very specific situation that has been created in this country, and that means the solution is very specific. And also the people who it affects is a very specific group. So don't get this idea that coming in the 60s is somehow tied to the Department of Justice being ready and willing to go to bat against an entirely new task force, and somehow you're part of the same downfall that we are. You know, I don't want people to get these things mixed up. You may be collateral damage. You may have gotten hit at the same time of the last bullet, but there were 5,000 bullets that came before you showed up. So please understand that this is very specific that we're focused on here. But I'm very proud of what they're doing out in Cali.
Big time, man. Big time. Leading the way, man, showing us how we here in Michigan, how we can, you know, kind of use that blueprint. And that's our you know, our goal and intention. And some may or may not know, all four of the hosts here, host, co-host, however you want to call it, the team, we're also members of the Freedom Agenda League of Michigan. I'm the president. Darvell is the secretary. Ernest is the treasurer, and Stedman is the political outreach person. And that's you know, part. We don't represent exactly the organization on this show, our views and things of that nature, but it definitely are tied and woven in. And that's something, you know, for those who are watching here in the Michigan area, that's definitely what our goal is to get to that same point of having legislation, a task force here in Michigan, and looking at, you know, accounting for what happened here in Michigan. And ultimately, the larger goal is we don't want reparations to be done on the state by state level, but the ultimate goal is to tie it back to, for instance, we had all of these, you know, task forces that happened in multiple states, or at least the ones that are predominantly, you know, has large Black populations. Then it'll be more of a groundswell to the federal level, the federal legislative, and also to those who control these different bodies at the federal level to say, hey, you know, there's a political will for this, and that's generally when it comes down to politics. That's one thing that, you know, all politicians will say, you know, hey, well, I'm saying all politicians, but this is noted to say that you have to have the political will. You know, make me do something. Unfortunately, that's ultimately how a lot of them act. They, you know, they don't want to touch a hot button item without there being some sort of wind behind their back or some sort of political cover. So they stay in the middle. That's why we don't see a lot of movement, or a lot of, you know, if we do, we see people come into the political process that are, you know, outsiders. They just end up just being outsiders, you know, because they don't have the political will behind their back. So again, that's what we're all trying to do and express you know, by covering these topics and things of that nature, trying to get our people, you know, to start thinking out the box and thinking about how this process goes.
Yep, and just to piggyback on what Gerard said and make it very clear, understand that there should be no dollars, no checks, no dispensary of any type of funds from the state. Okay, what the state should be doing as a model from what is happening in California is understanding the legacies and the particularities of what happened in that state to help create the manifestation of a federal program of reparations. We need to push at the national level for this program, because that's where the money is minted. Ain't nothing coming from the state that isn't coming out of your pocket unless it came from the feds. And the only way to get the feds to cough it up is to push the feds first, right? So we're going to start on the local level, create these local task force, and then work that up as part of the wind at our back to get the national reparations movement in a new level of functionality.
And just to kind of reiterate a point, just what's in the news lately, the Congress just voted to give, or either the House just voted to give Israel another $1 billion on top of the $33 billion they've been giving them for the past, over the next 10 years or something they did for their Iron Dome defense program. So you're looking at a country, America, giving $1 billion in military aid to a country like Israel, which is rich. They offer their citizens a lot of services, healthcare, college, a lot of social programs that even American citizens don't get. And we're giving them billions of dollars yearly for military aid on top of the billions of dollars they're already getting from aid, you know. So they've got money coming from somewhere to do this stuff. It's always a problem when it's time to do right by the people, when it's right to be just for the people, then it's a problem. But whenever they're just giving their friends military contracts, giving their friends and other governments money, there's never a problem. There's never discussion. AOC, you know, we're not going to get into that part right now, but yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think like we just stated, excellent points, gentlemen, from everyone. I think as we stated to the audience, you know, just definitely make sure you keep an eye out on all reparations legislation that you hear about, because you will be hearing more as our voices, you know, are raised up more in the streets and digitally. So I think as we have more shows, I'll be covering this a little bit more. I'm curious to see what will happen next with the task force. I know they have more meetings in October, and after those meetings, they have to make some sort of recommendation to the governor. So very interested in seeing how this all develops, as well as I would say we all stakeholders in this. So however it plays out, we will be impacted one way or the other. So stay tuned on that. And with that, I could pass it off to one of the co-hosts to lead off our next topic. Jay Rocky, you want to jump into that?
Oh, is that time? Okay, yeah, man. So we're going to be discussing some you know, less legislative things and a little bit more ears on the street type of stuff, right? So as many of us know, yesterday R. Kelly, was the infamous singer that from the 90s on to the early 2000s, right, mid 2000s, really, from out of Chicago, was convicted on 9 charges, 8 of them being violations of the Mann Act, and 1 being a charge of racketeering. Okay. So again, this show, we always look at things, we're not looking at it from a salacious point of view. We don't have our position is not to say whether R. Kelly did or didn't do it. Well, we look at things from a historical point of view, a Freedman's point of view, right? Which is like, okay, what is this Mann Act? Where did that come from? We're looking at it like racketeering. Where do we hear this, term used? What is it about? Most of us know, racketeering, or if you've ever heard of racketeering. Racketeering was a tactic that was developed in the 1950s and 60s, I want to say, used to take down the mob. And over the years, what we've seen is that it's been also used in other fashions that the original design or the original purpose doesn't seem suitable. And now it's kind of being kind of like a catch-all for everyone.
It seems that a lot of essentially we're seeing a lot of black celebrities, or rather up and coming people of posture in different black communities, are getting hit with RICO charges or racketeering charges in order to make a way to bring them down, in order to make a case. Because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong before we share what you got pulled up, I believe there's a lower standard of proof when you come into a space of like RICO or racketeering. Like you got to set up you got to make it look like they're trying to do something rather than prove that they did something. I don't know. There's something different about it that allows them to pull off really monumental cases.
I think it's that degree of conspiracy, I think that's what it is. Like just being able to prove that there is some form of conspiracy going on. Like when like Gerard mentioned for the mob, the conspiracy was that even though the mob boss doesn't murder any of these people or touch them, he's in connection to all of those who do. And that's the conspiracy aspect of it.
Right. Exactly. That's it. You have to prove that it's an enterprise. Right. So first you have to prove that it's an enterprise. And generally most of these type of cases, you get one person that's quote unquote part of the organization that basically spills the beans on everyone else, and then outlines, hey, this is the top person, this is this, all the different levels of leadership, and then now you establish the organization from the top down to the foot soldiers, and then then you start testifying to the crimes that allegedly the top person said to the bottom, and so on and so forth. And the threat of what ends up happening is like the threat of they use a lot of outside of they use either informants, either they're able to get and generally, and these are in these RICO cases, these racketeering cases, they usually it has to take somebody from the inside exposing what was the nature of the organization and the crimes they committed. Now this is usually a criminal syndicate. Now, what we're showing Kwame Kilpatrick's video face right here, because this was one of the first times that in a public corruption case, right? He and he also, we have to also understand too, and let me back up before we even talk about that. We certain laws don't meet like federal jurisdiction. Okay, like for instance, if you notice, we don't have a federal driver's license. So a violation of, you have a traffic ticket, or, even traffic homicide, right? Don't reach the level of where it meets it gets into a federal court. Now, yes, it could be a felony, which is more than a year to a day. As far as the punishments are concerned, that's the difference between a felony and a misdemeanor, but don't get it twisted. A felony doesn't necessarily mean that it's federal. Okay. It has to have some sort of federal or across state lines type of situation in order for it to be, come into the preview of federal jurisdiction, i.e., mail fraud. You'll see that, right? Because that involves or wire fraud, right? So let's say you're taking money from people down in Florida, and you're saying, hey, we're in Michigan, saying, hey, I'm selling prime real estate, and it's actually in Lake Michigan or something like that, but I'm taking money from all these different sources because that's international commerce. The Commerce Clause basically allows it to become now this crime that now I'm in Michigan, and people in Florida or what have you, but because they sent me the money via Cash App, or they sent it via Western Union, or they sent it even in the mail, right? That opens it up to federal jurisdiction and federal charges and prosecution. Now, where a lot of these things, so that's the first thing, right? Is it has to be something across state lines, some sort of criminal activity that's happening across state lines before even the feds can actually pick it up. For the most part, and I'm sure there's other cases. But what we're looking here right now, where is it? So we can see here, so look back at former Detroit mayor's trial convictions. And so it was like, okay, Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick was convicted on 24 federal felony counts, including, as I was telling you, mail fraud, wire fraud, racketeering. Let's see where we can. I'm just going to jump to the racketeering part. I guess that was the only case of it. But in essence, what the mayor was charged of was stating that the racketeering, which was quite novel at that time, was the fact that they stated that the mayor was running the office, the office of of the mayor's office, basically his administration, as a criminal enterprise. Now, he was elected to be the mayor. He was the mayor's office isn't a criminal entity. It's upheld by the state constitution. All the so it is not one of those things that normally that you would think of as a criminal enterprise. And mind you, public corruption is going back as far as we can think of. And then, from my understanding, from what I know, there was never any type of, racketeering aspect of corruption, i.e. a public official taking money for whatever particular purposes, whether it be, contracts or for them to perform their service or favor. That's where we get into corruption, right? On many different levels, many different forms of corruption. But the racketeering part was very novel. And of such, he ended up, because of the Fed time or the federal, he was convicted of a federal crime. He was sentenced to 28 years, which was, an exorbitant amount for that particular type of crime that ultimately he was found guilty of. I'm trying to see here, but anyways, so moving on. Now we see the same type of tactic deployed to a singer who was accused of sexual misconduct, right? Usually that is a state crime.
Uh-oh, we lost Gerard. Uh-oh.
He's when they get into the nitty-gritty too.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna say so what he's saying with Kwame Kilpatrick is that this was an instance where federal prosecutors pretty much used the RICO Act to convict a black politician because it's a lot of I guess we could say, even though he had 28 felony charges, I think out of all of those charges, definitely the RICO and the a few other charges probably got him that amount of time that he was sentenced to.
Yeah, and it's just, like he was saying, like there's a lot of creative use of laws here, right? We're not trying to defend any of this, but what we're saying is that when people want to come for you, such as descendants of freedmen, the government coming for descendants of freedmen, they come up with ways to come for you, right? It takes every lawyer we can find to try to defend us, right? So that's when it happens that people come up to find that you get charges that are based on things that even the statute of limitations are questionable, but they stick. At least they stick initially, right? So that's always an issue. And I think that's kind of what Gerard's overall scope was going to be when he got into that. Stedman, do you believe that this is kind of a repeat of the criminalization of black bodies in a way that is just they're going over the top with R. Kelly in this case? Or do you think that basically we're just looking at the machine doing what the machine does with anybody who does this stuff that's black?
I think in a way it could be both of those things you said. When we were talking about this yesterday, what I was saying is the way that I kind of try to frame this, at least in my mind, even with us talking about it, is, and Gerard didn't get a chance to really go into detail about it, but let's say this man for the last 20 years, or when Aaliyah died, she died in 2000. So let's say if she was 14, 95, 96, 94, the system has allowed this man to do what he's doing all these years. The statute of limitations on these crimes have been expired long ago. And so it's like they're trying to play catch up by creating loopholes to targeting him, like for brownie points with the media or brownie points with their constituency, in the same way that they got Bill Cosby, and probably the same way that if R. Kelly can afford good lawyers, which I'm sure he can, his case is going to eventually get thrown out because it doesn't make sense. You can't try to rectify the past by committing a crime in the present to correct the past mistakes. That's not how justice works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we got Mr. Rocky back. But one thing that I will say is to kind of piggyback off of where I was going and where you took it, Stedman, is a commenter just mentioned a local state representative, Jewel Jones. And, you know, he's been going through some issues here in Michigan. I don't know if it's a repeat or if that's an outlier. I don't know if you have any opinion on that, Mr. Rocky.
A repeat as far as I'm not for sure.
The criminalization of Black individuals of position in terms of focusing the machine's most creative elements and aspects on trying to criminalize and lock up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely as always. It's definitely doesn't seem like to me outlier. It seems like that's, you know, kind of like how they go about doing so. So one of the things we'll jump into the man. So he was actually convicted of 9 charges. So we get told this over and over again, but they never explain, well, what were their 9 charges? You know, I'm a type of person, I got to, you know, let me see the ink. Let me get into particular. I don't want to take someone's, you know, opinion about something or what have you and take it, you know, what is, I want to know what exactly happened. So 8 of the 9 charges were violations of the Mann Act. Okay. Now, this act has been around since 1910. So I could kind of tell you, you know what this country was about in 1910, right? Just imagine. In fact, it pretty much helped propel the FBI into existence because it brought down the level of proof, you know, and it became quite ambiguous. And so they used this law was used in a lot of ways, kind of like I gotcha. I gotcha, you know what I mean? Because ultimately, you know, anything could be. Well, here, let's you know, instead of me just talking about it, and hopefully I'll get this right this time. I X'd myself out because I was sharing the actual the tab. Okay.
I did that before.
Yeah, I was sharing the tab and then I X'd myself out of StreamYard because I was trying to change what I was sharing. So are you guys seeing what I'm seeing?
We are.
Okay, we are. So let me go ahead and make it a little bit bigger for everybody. All right. So they notice they won't say what is the other name for the Mann Act. They won't talk about it because you'll quickly see that this has some sort of racial presidential type of effect on it, right? You know, that's why they refer to it as the Mann Act and not the White Slave Traffic Act as it was called when it was first passed. Okay, it was passed in June 25th of 1910. You know, height of Jim Crow, right? Okay. In its original form, the act made it a felony to engage in interstate or foreign commerce transport of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery, or for any other immoral purpose. So the law is so vague now. This is what Kelly got convicted of. 8 counts of that, right? Of immoral purpose, because now it opens the floodgates. It doesn't say like specifically like underage girls, none of that. It doesn't say that. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't engaged in prostitution, but you got this debauchery, I'm sorry, and immoral purpose. That opens the game because that could be subjective, you know, to the times that we're in, right? Of what's immoral and what's not immoral, because I mean, back in this time, homosexuality was considered immoral. And in fact, a lot, you know, these type of laws were used to go after certain people that were homosexual, right? You know, and if they had their lover, you know, traveling with them, let's say they were artists or a political person or whatever, this is how the FBI and the government was able to, you know, go after people. You know what I mean? And charge them with violation of this act. So the history of this law is really, really disgusting in my opinion. In practice, go ahead. Were you going to say something, Steph?
Yeah, I was just I was going to say debauchery is just more so like other immoral things too. So it says extreme indulgence in bodily pleasures and especially sexual pleasures involving sex, drugs, and alcohol that is often considered immoral.
And you have to, going back to what I was saying, guys, you see, I'm talking, things I stated earlier, interstate foreign, because see, there's no federal law against prostitution. There's no federal law against, because these are the purviews of the state. This is the I want to say it's the 10th Amendment. Anything that's not enumerated in the articles of the Constitution shall be, pushed back down to the states. And I'm paraphrasing, the states and the people itself. Okay. And so a lot of things don't fall in federal jurisdiction. But that commerce clause was used in the commerce. Anyways, this opens it up. Anytime it's interstate or commerce or whatever, they can try to, now the feds can step in and address something, because like Stedman was saying earlier, a lot of these crimes that R. Kelly was alleged to have committed or what have you, were, honestly are beyond the statute of limitations in the states where these crimes allegedly occurred for many of them, anyway, so let's go on forward. It says here it was amended by Congress in 1978 and again in 86 to limit its application to transport for the purpose of prostitution and other illegal sex acts. It says here in the 19th century, many of America's cities had designated legally protected areas of prostitution. All right. Increased urbanization as well as greater numbers of young women entering the workforce led to greater flexibility in courtship without supervision. It was in this changing social sphere the concern over white slavery began. The term referred to women being kidnapped for the purpose of prostitution and derives from Charles Sumner's 1847 description of the Barbary slave trade. I'm just going to skip forward down, right? Because even then it was kind of like, just like how marijuana was outlawed in this country, it was under this threat of like, white women are victims. They're going to be, somehow they're going to be the victims of, foreigners and, black men of, some sort. They're using weed,
especially
weed.
Mexicans.
Right, Mexicans, right.
That's why they call it marijuana still, because Mexicans were, they try to say, oh, they're using this, and they try to give that connotation of it's Mexicans gonna be with white women, and then they'll get to. That's why cocaine is illegal now. You used to be able to use cocaine, but they thought the black men would do cocaine and go crazy and kill and rape white women. So that's why cocaine is illegal. I mean, it's wild.
Wow. Yeah, everything in this country always goes back to race. And don't ever believe any of those who don't, its whole existence, every freaking thing has some sort of racial component to it, i.e. the Mann Act, or again, like we say, the White Slavery Traffic Act. So anyway, so ultimately the gist of it is they're trying to bump up, the threat of possibly quote unquote white women being kidnapped and drawn into slavery, when in reality, the reality is that the country was poor due to our economic social conditions. People were leaving the countryside, right, going into the cities. Women were using their bodies for economic gain. But there was this idea that these white slave narratives or white slave tracts began to circulate in around 1909. Such narratives often portray innocent girls victimized by a huge secret and powerful conspiracy controlled by foreigners, as they were drugged or imprisoned and forced into prostitution. Sounds like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today in certain movements that start with M and end with the number 2. Well, actually, I would say it's not. Well, anyways, but a lot of the same, the same type of characterization, right? Oh, these people, these women are being preyed upon. We have rape culture. This type of stuff isn't new, guys. This is just kind of rinse, wash, and repeat the same old things over and over again. According to Connolly, such concerns represented a hysterical version of genuine and long-standing issues arising from concentration of young women from rural backgrounds expanding to the cities of the era, many of whom were drawn into prostitution for mundane economic reasons, not because somebody tricked them into doing so. But we always have to have a victim.
And I want to just for you bringing that up, we talked about this before with the rise in online sexual workers, OnlyFans, and how that's a sign of not only social decay but economic decay. So you have economic opportunities drying up, and women are resorting to the oldest, what they call the world's oldest profession. And so, I mean, we see that this is, like you said, it's wash, rinse, repeat. The cycle is continuing. And rather than at any point in this process, take a hard look at how do we change the system for the better sincerely, you continue to try to, instead of working on the causes of these issues, you work on the effects of the issue. You treat the symptom of the illness and not the symptoms.
Right. So let's talk about the legal application of this law, right? So although the law was created to stop forced sexual slavery of women, the most common use of the Mann Act was to prosecute men for having sex with underage females, i.e., that's what R. Kelly was ultimately charged with. The phrase immoral purpose, right, in the statute allowed a broad application of the law. Following its affirmation of Committee versus the United States, the authority of Congress to keep the channels of interstate commerce free from immoral and injurious uses has been frequently sustained and is no longer open to question. So this kind of created this precedent of enlarging the government, right? So, we always, I'll talk about that later, man. But ultimately, what I was my point that I wanted to make, and I don't want to go on a tangent about, but a lot of times we ask, we try to bring in the government and we say, hey, we got this, like I said, we treat these symptoms and we want to do a heavy hand, right? But in response, we end up violating our own rights and our own due process, and we open up a can of worms, down the day. Where people are now without, you don't need any evidence or anything like that, any physical evidence or anything like that, just somebody's word that they said that something happened 25 something years ago or whatever. We just go back, just believe them, and just because it's a numerous of people are saying it, then that has to be the truth. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a person that I don't care how many people said something, it doesn't necessarily mean it occurred. I mean, we see this all the time. I mean, our Black experience knows that, right? Our Black experience has proven time and time again of Black people. I won't even say Black men, of Black people being accused of something by another group and totally being false. And it'll only till after everything is over with, when we actually get the physical evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this didn't occur. Oh my God! But during the time, somebody just said it. We should just believe it what that person said or that group of people said about this other person just because the numerous accounts of it happening. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's been too many issues.
Safe to say, black people don't trust the witness process in this country.
Well, right? Exactly.
That's what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Right.
And that's the thing.
I just want to give.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Talk about it. So, in addition to its stated purpose of preventing human trafficking, the law was used to prosecute unlawful premarital, extramarital, and interracial relationships. The penalties would be applied to men whether or not the woman involved consented, and if she had consented, the woman could be considered an accessory to the offense. Some attribute enactment of the law to the case of the world champion heavyweight boxer Jack Johnson. Johnson was known to be intimate with white women, some of whom he met at the fighting venue after his fights. He was prosecuted, later convicted for transporting women across state lines for immoral purposes. As a result of his relationship with a white prostitute named Belle, whatever her last name is, sounds like it's German. The month prior to the prosecution, Johnson had been charged with violating the Mann Act due to traveling with his white girlfriend, Lucille Cameron, who refused to cooperate with the prosecution and whom he married soon thereafter. So this is the act that, you know what I'm saying, that he was found, R. Kelly. This has been a long list of people who were charged, with this act. Some probably, some probably very well they committed, acts of sleeping with minors or whatever the case may be. Now, again, if that's the case, that's fine. But a lot of it was used for, people who were in consenting positions, right? You know what I mean? But whatever that relationship was considered immoral at that particular point in time. So now we're going to use this loophole to go after the person, right? So go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
So look at Jack Johnson now, because I was going to say this, so it's good that it's up. So it says, no, you was fine where you were. It said he was pardoned in 2018, right? By Donald Trump. Not Mitch McConnell. What's his name? He was a senator from Harry Reid from Nevada.
Yeah.
And John McCain pressured Obama to pardon Jack Johnson, and he wouldn't do it. And the guy who did it was Donald Trump. 8 years Obama was in office to pardon Jack Johnson for the Mann Act, and Obama wouldn't do it. And Trump did it. He did it his second year in office. And so what you see, kind of also to piggyback on what you're saying, what you see is that black people, black men, have always lived in a system where believe the victim applies. You know what I'm saying? That's what they always try to tell you. Or you got to believe the victim. Black men have always lived under constraints of believe the victim. Rosewood, believe the victim. Right? Emmett Till, believe the victim. The Mann Act, believe the victim. How do you incentivize a woman to say this man is taking me against my will, raping me, so that you don't go to jail? And we consider that something that a sitting black president has to even consider not pardoning a man for it, which he ultimately didn't do.
Yeah. I mean, but why? Because of the Me Too. Because of the Me Too, man. He just didn't, you know what I'm saying? A man that was long. I mean, when did Jack Johnson die? Who knows?
Probably in the 20s.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? But he couldn't get that, because he didn't want to be looked upon as going against the grain. I mean, there's no doubt that these charges only came from the federal level after that movie came out. I mean, the movie came out in 2019. The charges came out in 2019.
And you look at, Oprah tried to do that with that Surviving Neverland or Returning to Neverland on Michael Jackson, but a lot of people nipped that kind of in the bud. But you think about, if you get a chance, just Google Jack Johnson. You can watch some of his old fights, bro. He outside fighting in Reno, Nevada, in cotton pants and leather boots, bare knuckle fighting, 60 rounds, 100 white dudes in a row in a crowd, and he the only black person around that ain't cleaning up. And he is knocking these white dudes out one after one after one after one. 60 rounds boxing. And he taking guys from the stands. Anybody want to come up and fight the champ? And he's in a sea of white people. And he had a white wife. You know what I'm saying? He was public enemy number one, bro.
For sure.
You got to watch some of them clips, bro. He's sitting there laughing at these dudes, hitting them in the face, bare knuckle. It's hundreds of guys, thousands maybe, in the crowd watching him fight. And he made it out alive. Public enemy, and he had a convertible, and he had a white chick, and he had, he had nice clothes. Dude, Jack Johnson, bro.
Yeah, like you said, pardoned him in 2018. I just was going to make one other comment to the creative application of the law. I think what we've been seeing lately in hip hop in the application of the RICO Act against these rappers, specifically the new ones, utilizing YouTube videos to say, oh, he has a gun in this video. And that gives us the grounds to open up the investigation to investigate a criminal enterprise or build up this conspiracy that these individuals may be involved in more than one thing. They also, they're arresting folks these days just from having a picture. Like, rightfully so, the law says no ex-felons should have like a Second Amendment right is gone. There's been instances where folks are being arrested for having weapons in a picture. And, these people are the same folks that are on probation. Not that they were caught with a gun, but we seen you in a picture with a weapon in your hand. This is grounds to take you to jail or possibly start up this investigation because you have large amounts of money. We're not going to take your music career into account. We'll take the fact that some of the content you're rapping about, the pictures that you have, to say that this is the conspiracy that we want to build up about these young men. And I think sad to say it today is a lot of the young folks that give off the imagery that kind of it oozes the gangster stereotypes from the 80s. So, gang affiliation, drugs, and then talking about killing somebody.
But so does all of the Italian mob movies, right? Like, we literally about to, in a couple more, I think on the first, I believe the first, they're going to have the Saints of Newark, right? It's supposed to be like a prequel to the Sopranos. Okay, bruh, that's just as much as the gangster movies and gangsters have been. You know what I'm saying? Have been that version of criminality. I mean, we know about Scarface from Al Pacino. Right, but the original Scarface was back in the 30s. You know what I mean? So much so it was so popularized, the gangsters in movies, that like they had to do, the FBI had to do like a promotional campaign and talk about the G-Men, right? Because so many people affiliated. I mean, then even before them, right? And then we got the Jesse James, the Daz Dillingers. You know what I'm saying? All of those from the Wild Wild West. Is never anything wrong with toxic masculinity when it's coming from a white face, but when it was a black person, and you know what I'm saying, more specifically a black man, because they'll still tolerated from a foreigner, i.e. Italian or Cuban, you know what I'm saying, Hispanic or whatever, right? We got the Sons of Anarchy, you got all this, all these different other things, but wait, you start having some black dude, oh no, this is degenerate behavior and blah 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 and so on and so forth, as if
yeah,
like that's not what America's been about.
You got a point there, Gerard. Definitely do. Same thing too. Pictures with guns, all of that. Same playground. Yeah.
If I was these guys, I'd be like, hey man, it's a toy. It's a replica. Prove to me it's not. Yeah. You know what I mean? Ain't about what you know, what you can prove. There's no different than. That's what's my man? Keanu Reeves and John Wick? Look how violent is that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the thing about laws and rights, and even we looking at with the situation with the current pandemic we in. Mm-hmm. People in general not understanding your rights. They don't look at that as the defense when you violate your own rights, or like you said, you give your own, prove this is wrong. But if you don't even understand that you have that opportunity to say, look, I'm innocent until proven guilty. It's your responsibility to prove that this is a firearm and it's not a replica, it's not fake, it's not an airsoft gun, whatever. They don't even have that, they don't have that even thought process. Oh, well, I'm in trouble now, and you just start singing. You see it on First 48 all the time. Yeah. They just tell on themselves, but it's a process of undereducating and miseducating people about their rights, what the laws are, what the Constitution says, and what you can do.
Exactly. And then man. That kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier, and then also the public. Like, to me, this the conspiracy law that is locked up how many black men, you know what I'm saying? Conspiracy, they can't prove that they sold drugs or they were kingpins or nothing. Just a conspiracy. One person who's trying to save his ass from going to jail and just be like, yeah, he did it. Yeah, he was the mastermind. You know what I'm saying? Conspiracy case. They don't got no tape of you selling it, no wiretap.
But see, the proof that they got, Gerard, comes from another slavery law, meritorious manumission.
You're right.
And so and we're gonna help you get out the crime, but you can get help.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So it's deep, but I mean,
it's so deep.
I'll say if you're guilty, you're guilty. But at the same time, when we're looking at some of these laws, we gotta definitely have a a different viewpoint, or at least be objective to say, like, I can understand where this come from. I can see how this could be weaponized against us in the future, from a positive perspective and not just the negative. So we can definitely throw that out there.
Yeah, man. I mean, this stuff, these tactics, the snitch tactic or whatever. And believe me, I do not by any means believe that, hey, if you're a victim of a crime, then you have the right to tell that crime. You understand the difference between a snitch and a rat. What that actually, a lot of people get that confused, right? A snitch is somebody, hey, you're accessory to the crime. Me and Ernest, me and the guys here, we're gonna okay, we're gonna blow up the government tomorrow because we want reparations, okay? And then I get caught, and I'm like, hey, they did it. They stay up, and I provide all the evidence, and then I end up going free because I tell on everybody on my three compadres right here, I'm a snitch. If I'm a victim now, if my man down the street, jealous of me for some particular reason, and he freaking, steals my car or whatever, or pops me, shoots me in my leg or whatever in the process of stealing my car or what have you. And I tell the law, he down the street. Yeah, I saw him. He did it. Yeah, it was him. That's not a snitch. I'm a victim, bro. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. That's a whole different thing. But we got that all messed up. But ultimately, that's what the government uses, is they use that tactic. I mean, man, even to the level of international war, right? So we were working with the Taliban. This is the part that's crazy. Like, when all this stuff has come out, we were literally working with the Taliban and with, Islamic jihadists or what have you. And they were turning in people that they knew this was like, they were just enemies they had beef with, right? You know what I'm saying? Is, culturally or religiously, they maybe, they were turning in cats just because hey, we was offering rewards. We were like, hey, we quote unquote was taking these, Islamists off the streets, just like, and it's the same tactics, the same dumbass crap that's, being used even internationally, dude. And we sent a bunch of people to Guantanamo Bay, torturing them, waterboarding them, man. And these was like farmers and regular people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I can't never just trust because the government said somebody did something. I can't just sit up there and be like, oh yeah, why else would he have been charged with it?
So this the great segue. You don't trust the propaganda of the government,
no, man,
or of the courtroom or the legal system. In some instances, the propaganda. I think, Stead, you got some stuff you want to talk on, definitely on the propaganda for Afghan and a few other folks in spots, right?
What's going on, Stead?
Yeah, my video is laggy, so hopefully my sound is good. But in the media, man, they've got some. I mean, you see now with Afghanistan, and there's an individual I want to talk about just to show a couple clips of. So I want to share my screen right quick. A North Korean lady named Yeonmi Park. She's from North Korea, and she's made rounds on the Joe Rogan show. She's made on Fox News. They've talked about her. So I want to play a clip of this right quick. I don't know. I'll see. It's an 8-minute clip. I won't play all 8 minutes. I'll try not to.
You got your audio turned on? You check your audio box?
Yeah. Can you hear it?
Nope.
What? Let me see. Let me go over here and try this again, man, because I hit audio. Let's see. Share. Share.
There's a little audio.
So I might
button.
have to when I share my window, the audio doesn't share. So I might have to just share tab then. I'll share this tab first. So that
Yeah,
way
share the tab.
Okay. So here we go. This is Joe Rogan talking to Young Me Park about what it's like, what life is like in North Korea.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
When you were talking about going to the doctor when you were a child, and that this is a very disturbing story, but I want you to try to explain it to people, how people were dying in these hospitals and rats would eat the eyeballs of the people who were dying, and children who were starving would eat the rats. And then the children would die and the rats would eat the children.
Yeah.
Explain what this was like, that you how did you see this?
Well, I'm seeing that the bodies on the streets like everyday thing. It was
Where were the bodies? Like just laying around on the streets?
so they are floating in the rivers, and then they also train station somehow had a lot of dead bodies because North Korea is very cold, and there's a train waiting area, and North Korea has one train go to one distance like once a month, and like here it would take like 1 hour to go the other place. In North it take a month at least to go because there's no electricity, and sometimes people have to push the train.
They have to push the train.
Yeah, traveling in North Korea is an unbelievably difficult thing within North Korea. So I mean, anyway, so in train stations that's when people die mostly. And in North Korea, the hardest thing as a child for me is that when my mom goes away to find food, like we don't have we don't have phones, we don't have letters. If I say goodbye to her, I don't know when I'm gonna see her again or if I'm ever gonna see her again, because she could have killed and like raped and starved. You just never know how to find people. So in the in the morning when you go like walk in the train station, they just put the piles of the dead bodies, and they're all like become rigid, right? They're almost like like wood piled them on and taking away. And but the thing is, for me, I didn't even know the word compassion. Like nobody told me you have to feel bad for it, because for me it's like fish in the water don't notice the water, right? Like that. It was like
Right.
something every day I saw as a child.
So you never went days where you didn't see. This is a normal thing to see dead bodies.
It was every day as like normal as like breathing the air right now. And one thing that I still remember is my sister and I was walking by the well. Like in North Korea, we don't have a switch. We don't have running water, obviously. We have to go to well or river to bring the drinking water. And there's a young teenage boy, I think, lying down, and his intestines coming out of his back. When you're really malnourished, that thing all opens up. You got zero fats. Every hole all opens. And you see dogs looking at his organs coming out, and he was still somehow conscious, begging for food at the time.
He was begging for food while his organs were hanging out of his body.
Yeah. And I don't know why he was like pants were off, and I felt nothing. That still haunts me till this day. Like I don't know how I felt nothing at that point, and that just looked horrible. And because it's just the fact that he's alive and so much flies flying by on his organs, and how he's somehow consciously begging for food, and I didn't feel anything.
You felt no compassion.
No,
It was
nothing.
just normal.
Yeah. So that was like daily life thing. And then in the hospital when I was 13 years old, my parents took me to hospital because I was a bad stomach.
Okay, cut the video.
We don't have MRI, none of that. Just
Wait. Just wait. Just
doctor
listen to
walks
this.
your
Wait.
belly, and then he says, "Oh, we need to open
Wait.
her." I think her like appendix were bursting or something. So that afternoon, they cut me open without any anesthesia, but it's normal thing in people in North Korea operation without anesthesia. But the chances of you going to surgery is a lot higher for you getting infected because we don't have penicillin. The nurse is using a 1 needle to inject every single patient. So who do you know what the other person has? You get from actually more sick by being in the hospital.
Right.
All right. Now,
Bro,
there's a
that
reason
was
I'm
crazy.
showing that.
No, it was.
But how does that
was
make
funny
any
and
sense,
painful.
bro? How does any of that make sense?
Only,
You got rats.
I don't even want to
people-
laugh, bro.
Eating rats.
Stephen, you wrong, bro. That we didn't know that clip was
Bro.
gonna be that funny.
Bro, so I did the
said we had
math.
to
I
push
looked
the
it up.
train. But y'all starving to death.
Push
How you
the
pushing the
You
train?
said it take you 30 days to go what would take an hour in America, bro. You know how big North Korea is? I looked it up yesterday. It's the size
It's like
of
New
Mississippi.
Jersey. Oh, okay.
Mississippi. To walk from the Gulf of Mexico, I did Gulfport. From Gulfport to border of Tennessee would take you 6 days walking. How the fuck it take you 30 days on a train?
Stephen did the math.
What are you talking about?
Is she saying that the train just stops and doesn't move or whatever?
And
What
then
did
you gotta push it. Why wouldn't
gotta
you just
push it.
walk?
Why they
Right.
Why wouldn't you take a bike? What are you? So here's
One-
the reason why.
I heard.
Hey, one thing I say is I need the Democrats to go on record and say this is worse than the Holocaust. That's what I need.
Hey, but here, look. So this is what I want to show you in relation to what she's saying and why this is happening. So North Koreans who defect, they receive a payout when they come to South Korea. Okay, so you can see this. South Korea boosts reward for defectors from North Korea to $860,000. That's reparations. That's what we're saying for reparations, right? This is from 2017.
Are you
The
sharing
South Korean
something,
government.
man? Are you
Oh
sharing
yeah,
something?
you can see
Oh
it.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The South Korean government is quadrupling the reward it pays to defectors from the North who share information.
Share
Defectors
information.
can
They have to bring
expect-
information.
But here's the thing. It don't have to be true.
Oh.
It just has to be anything.
So
They
she
want to
thinks
make
you think
North
she's
Korea look bad.
So she's bringing the information. You think this is all a ploy for her payout?
Right. But that's what they all do. So they talk about imagine Russia said, "Hey, black people, you give us some negative dirt on America, we'll give you $800,000. We'll give you $1 million." Who would say no? Come to Russia, you'll be a celebrity.
That's gonna be
We'll
bad.
give you $1 million to say bad shit about America.
We gonna have a whole show.
We do it for free every other Tuesday. We do it for free every other Tuesday. And they'll give me $1 million to do it. So defecting can be expensive. They talk about, if you go and check out The Gray Zone with Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton, they do a breakdown on her and a couple different other people. But my reason for bringing this person up, she came to America. She married to some white dude, if I'm not mistaken, who got money. She's got a lot of plastic surgery now. She didn't always look like this.
Why she need to do with the money? I thought she got the money.
Well, you know, she come over here. She's a celebrity. You can always get more. So she went to Columbia University, right? And she's one of those people that talks about, the situation, the racism in America is nothing. North Korea, and like I'm saying, you can look at videos of North Korea. It doesn't make sense if they don't have. How are you telling me you getting the surgery and they're sharing a needle? Like, what are you talking about? What are they giving you a needle for? You said they don't have penicillin. What are you talking about? The stories don't even add up.
Well, she said it was dead people. She said
everywhere in the hospital dead,
floating in the river. But then you still going there to get water from? You gonna die. You gonna get you know what I'm saying? You're gonna become
you still alive to tell us about it.
Dead people floating in. You know what? Here's the thing, though. Dead people floating in the river. Wouldn't the U.S. see that on the satellite?
They would have got that, yeah.
Right.
But they would have got some propaganda of it,
yeah.
She said they don't have electricity, they don't have phones, they don't have mail service. We have seen footage of North Korea. That cat who went over there, who got his ass beat, remember 5 or 6 years ago and got killed.
Yeah, the white dude.
We know y'all have all this stuff, but this undermines our progress, right? Because now, as a freedman, we're trying to compete with people from other countries who claim to have these horrific and tragic stories and how they overcome and come here and they get to go to these Ivy League schools and get to be paraded around and paid and treated like gods. And here we are scraping for, hey, look at us. What you doing to us is wrong. And these same people coming over here shitting on us. You look at, so another, America's I want to share another.
America's great.
Right. What are you complaining about? You could be in North Korea. Like she was talking about, surgery. How many people you know in America that are dying because they can't get surgery? And you talking about, we got to share needles. Come on, bro. Here's another one. This is more. These are tethers. This is more media manipulation. This is more propaganda. Larry Elder argues that slave owners were owed reparations during an appearance on Candace Owens' show. So then you have these types of people when you're trying to push for progress for the descendants of freedmen coming out, and I'm not going to play the clip. It's probably a clip. I don't know. I'm not playing it because I don't want to hear him talk. He's from L.A., conservative, was running for governor, got beat. He was so bad, people didn't want people who didn't want Newsom to be governor voted for Newsom because they didn't want this guy to be governor.
That's how that happened. Okay. I get it now.
But he's talking about because slavery was legal. So here's what he says. He says, because enslaved individuals were legally deemed property at the time, slave owners and their estates are owed compensation for the human property they lost at the end of the Civil War and the passage of the 13th Amendment.
Yeah, they got it. They
did.
They already got it.
Well, not only did they get it, but what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? But this completely undermines. So then you have white people who don't know any other black people, but hearing Larry Elder talk, and so they and her and somebody, it's a video they put. They said the only thing is Candace Owens was probably mad she didn't say it first. But this is the black people that they talk to, and then they wonder why black people aren't conservatives.
No,
it's not a situation where. Keep going.
No, I also say these are the ones they take serious. Keep going, though, Stead.
Right. You want me to feel you want to. Why do you guys keep voting for Democrats? Because you got motherfuckers here apologizing for slavery. How could I do that? How could I accept that? Right? And so how does this translate to the Haitian migrant situation? Because what we're seeing at the border with the Haitians, America has continually shown they have no use for poor people and they have no use for Negroes, native Negroes at all, and especially poor foreign Negroes. They don't have no use for poor people at all. Okay? And so these Haitian border situation, where I guess there was 15,000 Haitian migrants at one point in time under this bridge in Texas, and this is a humanitarian issue, right? The U.S., we already have talked about how the U.S. has its hands on the assassination of their president, right? They just had an earthquake. The country is destabilized purely from American intervention and foreign intervention. And then the people get over here, and then you keep them trapped and pinned in, and then you send them back. And I'm not saying that that there's necessarily a way for them to stay here. But what I'm trying to say is you have this idea that there's some kind of coalition or that America's a different country. What makes you think you can come to they've been trying to kill Haitians, at least outright since Clinton was in office. They've just been trying to kill them. Why would you come here and think you were going to get any justice? And the black people that's been here for 400 years are still fighting to stop being killed by the police. But that's the propaganda that I'm talking about.
There's a certain desperation, man. You know what I mean? That will make anyone feel that way. When the Eritreans were, because this is what they say about Eritrea. Because my ex-wife is from there, so I had looked it up. She was talking about going to Eritrea because her brother still lived there. I was like, okay, I didn't really know nothing about Eritrea or what have you. I looked it up. They said Eritrea is the Africa's version of North Korea. I said, oh hell no, I'm not gonna be going there. So they, so anyways, during, I remember back in 2015, 2016, 16, all those African immigrants, migrants were, trying to get into Greece and, what I'm saying, go to Europe and so on and so forth. And I was just, I was like, yo, like that would be the last place that I want to go in Europe. You know what I'm saying? Because like, yo, you don't see how they treat they black people over there. But I guess, man, a lot of these countries, they probably don't have the same media access as we do. And it's just about, hey, I'm, that's the pie in the sky dream. They're gonna just come to America and make it out. But then it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Even the situation with North Korea, though, North Korea might not be great. Right. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm ready to move there, but the way they depict all these countries, the way they depict Cuba, the way they depict Venezuela, they always show the worst elements of those countries, if not outright fabrications and lies. But when it comes to talking about America, if you're a black man in America and you explain, hey, my quality of life is worse off, or if not me, maybe I'm lucky. My grandparents, my parents, my uncles, my mother had 5 brothers. 5? Yeah, 5 brothers. 6. I don't know. Offhand, it was 6 of them, and then my grandfather had a child from somebody else. So 5 brothers. The oldest died when he was 40-something. He got shot in his back by a security guard during the riots in Cleveland. The next uncle under him is still alive. The next under him died at 48. The one under him died at 50. My mother's twin brother died at 55. My grandfather died at 71. So if I just talk about the quality of life of being a black man in America, and I wanted to go on any mainstream news outlet, they would say, well, this is an over-exaggeration, or you're complaining, because you bring in these people from North Korea who you've paid $1 million to tell you how bad North Korea is. You set them up to go to these elite colleges. You've allowed them to get in touch with people, and they saying that their countries, they got rats eating kids and the kids eating rats. And they got to push a train for 30 days to go what is amounts to the length of the state of Mississippi.
Hey, that was just bad English, bro.
Bro, and like I said, well, how big is North Korea? It's the size of the state of Mississippi, bro.
The
niggas was walking from Mississippi to freedom.
I thought she said they pushed the train empty. I didn't realize it was pushing it with people in it.
Either way.
Was the people in the train, and then some people got to push the train, and that's how the train get down the track.
And then you got to move the dead bodies off the tracks.
Yeah, move the dead bodies.
Hey, no way. Hey, no way in hell that shit would have not made American news. They would have used that as the first reason to go to war.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. We would have killed North Korea, boy.
People walk from Mississippi to freedom, and that take longer than 6. Come on, bro. But that's what I'm saying. So then, what do you say to that as a black man in America? If you don't know any better, what do you say? Like Joe Rogan, bro, he was eating that shit up. Oh, really? Tell him about your rats.
Is Joe Rogan real though? Like, is Joe Rogan serious to any degree?
He gonna say, wait, the dog was still begging for food with the guts hanging out?
Hold on.
Bro.
He was. He did.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember. We didn't have letters. We didn't have phones. My mother left it. I never knew if she was gonna come back. Like, bro,
we have
North
letters.
Korea is a country.
Boys, listen. Let me put it this way: they ain't doing all. They ain't got all that dilapidated infrastructure if they over there making nuclear weapons.
Hey, I know how the Asians coming now, so they at least trying to let the world know over there is worse than Africa. So don't even say that we got it sweet.
They done sent one of their top agents straight over here. She over here. She talking,
bro.
She talking.
I mean,
with a boob job and everything, man.
Boob job? No. Let me show you what she used to look like. I'm gonna show you what she used to look like, just so you can see. Because she really did get some severe work. Yeonmi Park. Yeonmi Park.
Oh, there she is. All right, hold on.
Yeah, bro, she don't look nothing like she look now, cuz.
I'm replaying that clip on Clubhouse.
You know, but like, come on, bro.
The rats eat the dead people eyes, and the people eat the kids.
Yeah, the people eat the rats.
And then they died, and the rats eat them or something like circle life. Oh man, I'm like, yo, this is too much.
Then she was talking about when they left and she got smuggled into China, and her mom and her was going, and she had to leave her dad. And because they don't really want men in China, they need women, so they got her over there. And then this dude tried to rape her, so her mom was like, "No, rape me instead." And the dude was like, "Okay." I mean, because she was like, she was only a kid, straight up, bro. She said she was like 13, and the guy was like, "I don't care, 11, 12, 13, it don't matter to me." And the mom was like, "No, rape me instead." So it's like, bro, this ain't true. This didn't happen. This didn't happen. This didn't happen.
Hey, maybe we need to start stealing the page out of their book. But
maybe,
bro. They gonna pull our card on some prove it.
Hey, we gonna have to take the Freedmen Collective international, bro. We got to take the Freedmen Collective to Russia and be like, look, bro, they're making us eat dogs. They feeding us dogs, and the dogs is eating babies, and the babies. We're gonna have to go over there and see if we can get a ban, bro. Because if you're paying $1 million to lie,
the reason why Russia be like, yeah, it's okay. You guys are niggers anyway. They racist as hell over there too.
They'd be like, what do you think?
Ain't no reprieve for the black man, bro. You better go to the continent, man. And then they gonna be like,
I don't understand. I don't understand. You're African. No, Freedmen. Freedmen.
I'm out of here.
You gonna go to Africa? They gonna call you a Mzungu. You gonna go to Africa? They gonna call you a Mzungu. You gonna be like, yo, it's over with.
Yeah. It's just, nobody understands, man.
I'm going to turn right back around, try to come back home.
Okay, guys. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Long in the tooth.
Oh, yeah. Did you find a picture of her?
Who was looking for it? Darrell,
I was looking for it. Let me see.
Here you go, right here.
You got something? Let me see.
This is how she used to look.
Well, yeah, but what about her body? Oh, she's doing it on her face.
Well, no, she got her body done too. Let me see.
That's what I was trying to find.
Oh,
damn, she didn't image. It say she was sold into slavery and everything.
They had her doing conference. She got a conference she did where she talked to him. Her story has changed. I guess this is her husband now, but her story has changed a lot over time. They had her at conferences where she was wearing this traditional clothes. Like that's how North Koreans dress all day long. You know what I'm saying? That ain't true. Like they treat North Koreans like
the president just went hanging with Dennis Rodman.
Right. Like, we know this ain't what y'all doing over there, bro. Look at her. Look at the boobs.
Yeah.
Look at her eyes. Look at her face.
Yeah.
Look at her lips.
Yeah, she look more plastic. She look like one of them sex dolls that they got out now.
That's that American kid right there.
Right. I want to the right. She damn, bro. She look plastic as hell right there.
And so that's what I mean. Trying to understand how this propaganda affects us negatively.
Yeah.
For our movement for international solidarity, they make sure that you can't get the truth out.
Yeah, now I'll add on that. Even while like making sure we can't get the truth out, they'll even confuse the truth. So like Maxine Waters came out lately talking about what happened at the southern border was worse than slavery. That's no different from what Ben Carson did when he called the slaves immigrants and said that everybody who came here had to work to build America. And then the last one was Tamika Mallory. She's basically saying Haitian families being whipped is no different from George Floyd being murdered. And, with that, this is the propaganda on display.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know she said that. She need to be your man's and them for the day too. I don't know. We need to jump into that, yo.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's do it.
You are listening to Your Man's Now. This your man's? Hey, yo, who man's is this? Hey, yo, who man's is this? Hey, yo, who man's is this?
Whose man's is this? I need to know. I really need to know.
Yeah. No, I just was saying, Darville, that the people I just read off was your man's and them. But now we can bring it back because I definitely wanted to get R. Kelly, your man's and them, definitely for being even remotely involved in the situation that he in, and for them having any of those context clues to say this is the conspiracy. Yeah. But
your fellow Chicagoan.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like it's not a good look for Chicago. He had a good catalog, but you know, hey, for Maxine Waters though, you know, I guess she got the your man's in them because when we look at what she said, what happened at the southern border was worse than slavery. We need to recognize that politicians who make these type of statements only got one goal, and that's to reduce the actual impacts of our history while bumping up the present of others. So, you know, there's many times where they'll have this black and brown discussion, and what you don't notice is that whenever it comes to our people, when it comes to Black Americans, our history is kind of tied in with this narrative of many immigrants of colors. And the reality is it shouldn't be tied together. It should be distinct, and it should be kept sacred and unique. And I think only those of our lineage have that much respect for it. So, you know, that's why Maxine Waters got the book. Anybody want to add in on that?
Yeah, I want to say this. One thing that I noticed immediately, is that when I tried to find the stories covering what Maxine Waters said, one thing I'm glad that she didn't get a bunch of airtime because she used that salacious shit at our expense. But the other thing is that don't nobody want to call her out on it. So what I could not find was any prominent headline news agencies outside of some we may not want to tout who would actually report legitimately the phrase she used, the wording she used, bona fide. And that's the problem, right? They aid and abet the system from all sorts of angles. You have CNN and all these others, the CNBCs, the ABCs, and all the other news outlets that people kind of respect or they think are the leads, who have the viewers and the reach. They won't even bring this up, but it happened. And I think Black community in America needs to be more critical of these politicians. We need to come and hold their ass to the fire like we never even lit a fire before. We just got to burn it down. Yes, Maxine has a history of other things that have been better, but you know, this is ridiculous. I can only find it on Fox News, but it's real.
That's how you know. Yeah,
I figured when you said that. I swear.
And you know, also Daily Mail, right? And but they know. I mean, it ain't like make this shit up. She did that, right. And nobody wants to say shit about it. And that's where I get frustrated because everyone wants to make this as if, well, I can't do nothing about it. Well, I ain't worried about it. I gotta feed my kids. I gotta get my job. I gotta go on my vacation in Miami. But this shit is going to continue to fester and create that snowball even larger that results in people not having the social economic leverage as descendant of freedmen in this country, because the people who you've got in the White House, in the Capitol, and even the state legislatures are not doing the work. And you're not calling them out and you don't care because you think you're just going to get yours on your bootstrapperism. So
I got three things I wanted to say. So on the one hand, how was what Maxine Waters said any different than what Larry Elder said or any different than what Ben Carson said? Right? And that's the problem. Like you said, too many Democrat-minded people or too many whoever they liberal, left, progressive, they all full of shit. But they don't have any problem when their own constituent, like that clip of Joe Biden calling whatever that guy, Cedric Richardson or whatever, calling him a boy. That's my good boy. and this is a fully grown man. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have any problem holding you don't have any problem holding Republicans accountable, holding conservatives accountable. But when it's black Democrats, when it's anybody on the left or whatever you call that, it's okay. It's totally okay. The second thing I wanted to mention, old girl who designed AOC dress, I talked about it last week. I got some more information. This black woman of color immigrant.
Woo!
She done made dresses for Rihanna. She done made dresses for Beyonce before. She's dating a guy who's a descendant of the Lehman Brothers. He worth $100 million.
Wow.
Okay.
Must be nice. She part of the swirling activity, the swirling crowd.
Well, no. His mom is black. His dad is Jewish. He's a Drake. So she Canadian and she married a Drake.
Okay.
But it's the same situation. Immigrant don't mean poor. And just because somebody's a black immigrant, 9 times out of 10, if they able to come to this country, they not poor. They ain't letting poor Negroes come over here, poor black people, poor African, whatever. That you can't come. We're sending you back. Keyboard Warrior said they sent some Haitians back to Haiti who didn't even live there. So they sent swooping at everybody. You brown, get out of town. That's what they, if you black, get back. But and then the third thing I wanted to say, I might have forgotten it, so I'll leave it. Gloria Allred said R. Kelly was one of the most aggressive cases that she had ever heard of, or whatever. She defended Harvey Weinstein. Her daughter defended Harvey Weinstein. I believe her daughter's Lisa Bloom. Gloria Allred, I believe she tried to help. She did. She helped craft NDA, non-disclosure agreements for Harvey Weinstein's victims. So here you have white women that want to be a feminist lawyer, acting like she's some kind of progressive, and all they're doing is taking advantage of the situation. They'll do whatever they got to do to chameleon. So now it's attack the black man like always.
It's interesting. I'm gonna go back to that designer of that dress. I was just doing, a quick Google. I was like, AOC dress designer. What was the first headline that came up, yo?
She owes taxes.
Yeah, she got debt in multiple states. So I don't know all the backdrop, but somebody had to go dig some dirt up on her, right? It's just like, okay, people got history and things happen, and people can have fresh new starts and shit. But it's kind of oxymoron, tax the rich, but I don't want to pay tax either. I don't know. I guess I'm not the rich, but I married the rich, so tax my dude, okay? And then just don't tax me. And if you do, I won't pay. I don't know. And we talked about the LLC franchisee manifesto that's been running around in Black America. This woman, what's her name? Aurora James. She said she's what? What is she?
Canadian.
What is her? Huh?
She's Canadian. Like her dad is from Ghana. Her mother is a white Canadian, and I guess she grew up in Jamaica partially too. But she's a poor woman of. She not poor. She said woman of color immigrant, and so those are all the buzzwords to mean poor.
Woman of color. Immigrant, woman of color. She better not ever use the word black.
Because minority is supposed to be synonymous with you actually equal to the slave descendants. So that's what that is.
Oh, so she doesn't want minority. She just
no. I'm saying just like those are minority titles, like woman of color, immigrant.
This woman, this is terrible, and this is what's running around. People are being inspired by it. Oh, is this her dude right here?
Yeah. His like dad Indian? Is no. He's technically he's a Negro. His mom is black. His mom is black. His dad is Jewish.
He must got that Margot going on, Darville.
He worth $100 million. And you talking about tax the rich. And this is what the shit we got to deal with. Like you saying, people are running around. Oh yeah, AOC is a champion. No, she not, bro. They playing us all like chumps. Every one of them is playing us like chumps. Every
Oh,
single
yeah,
person.
they are.
is
You can
playing
see it. You can see it on her face. ALC's face just reads it. It's stupid. I don't even know why they were at the fucking Met Gala. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you supposed to be fucking doing right now? Like, what's the whole point? Is this going to promote some bill that you're trying to get passed? Are you talking policy with these folks? Are you a guest keynote speaker about the movement for what the fuck? Like, this is all a sham. And it's funny because people swear up and down this ain't shit and we ain't got to be worried about it. And all we got to do is get on our grind. And all we got to do is worry about our money. And we just got to get out here and do it and just do what we can. Listen. This
is how they appeal to the young voters these days. I was going to say Trump was just at the at that fight. which one was it? Logan Paul.
Oh, you know what? And it's funny on on another your man's in them tip before we bop out of here. Let's not forget, y'all support Trump. These cats in the background, they might, I guess. I don't know where these cats came from, but you know, you always got a few inserts behind them. Blacks for Trump. You see them standing back there. There's about 4 of them. Yeah. You know, they still hanging tight. You know, them your cousins, whoever cousins they is, y'all can come
They the ones voting for. They're gonna vote for Herschel Walker, bro.
And they ain't rocking with the Dems no matter what.
They said,
"Hey, stand fast,
bro." They cheesing, cuz I can't take it.
So
make me so infuriated, bro.
I mean, and it's Tamika Mallory comment: Haitians' family being whipped is no different than George Floyd being murdered. I'm just like, y'all need to stop these. I don't even know, man.
Hey,
so at this point, go ahead, Sted.
I was gonna say, like Ernest said, bro, the stuff at the border with the Haitians is worse than the Holocaust, man. It's worse than the Holocaust.
Hold on,
B. It's worse than the Holocaust.
Listen.
No. I'm saying what that Korean story was. The Democrats should have came forward and said this is worse than somebody else's horror story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they need to go ahead and do that themselves.
That's worse than the Holocaust too.
Yeah, because at this point, at this point, everything worse than our history, and that's the problem. So it's like every imported group can have something going on in a country that was worse than the last 400 years.
It somehow becomes a priority.
Combined. Yeah, and it's a high priority. America. Yeah, let's fix this. So
y'all messed it up. Y'all made all the problems. I wonder what percentage of the world's problems are actually from either America or the British crown.
90%, probably 90. I mean, because France really does a lot of stuff in Africa that we don't hear about. France really, like, they got their hand in Africa, bro. But I would say, I guess between Britain and the U.S., if not 90, 70 to 60, because France in there would be 90%.
I believe
you add them 3, 90%, 95 top. I mean,
yeah,
bro.
Well, I mean that's how it goes, y'all, and we're about to push that 2-hour mark, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Yep.
I apologize for my jacked up video today, or rather in my video late, but I think we're back at it.
I had some technical issues too. Sorry about that.
But it was a good show, y'all. Hope you learned a little bit, picked up a little bit, especially regarding what's going on with the R. Kelly situation. Please understand that these people will pull any antics, any creativity, and any type of abstract fabrications, even if they're just a hair string of truth, in order to construct something, and they will pass it even if they can only pass it for 10 minutes. So we probably will see an appeal. We probably will see some reprieve of the charges that he was convicted of, and we'll probably see some backtracking from even the witnesses. So we're gonna stay tuned to that. Again, we're not here to defend the acts or the concept of what was done, or even violation of law and principle. We're not here to say that that's okay or to defend it, but we are talking about the constructs of the system of this U.S. government going to any length, and the society supporting the government going to any length to always bury anything that we've got, as we've seen today in various different exhibitions we put on. So thank you. Stedman, then Ernest, you got any last words for the people?
We always want to try to contextualize everything, and I think Darvell really wrapped it up. We're not trying to condone any negative behavior. But it is important to understand that if these situations would have been taken care of years ago, we'd be fine. You know, these things wouldn't have happened. So it's the continued abuse of power, it's the abuse of money, you know, it's nepotism and cronyism of the people in charge. And so we've got to continue to make you all aware of that, make you all aware of the fight internationally and how that affects our ability to demand justice at home, because you have so many people who are willing to sell out their own people. They don't even care about American Negroes at all. So, I mean, you know, continue to take the information, continue to educate yourselves, fight, keep watching, keep coming back, share, like, you know, leave us any advice you have, any tips, any news stories. You can email us or leave them in the comments. We appreciate you stopping by.
Yep. And I'll wrap it up by, you know, using Gerard's famous quote: "We have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies. We only have permanent interests." And I'll definitely say special thanks for all those tapping in. As you continue to do so, we'll continue to, you know, upgrade and improve the show. Thinking upcoming shows, we might have an anniversary show coming up. We definitely got some elections looming, so you guys will hear some more information about that. And definitely we're going to keep you guys in the loop as it relates to reparations, legislations, and all of the hot things within the movement. So with that, you know, I'll conclude.